smart to chew on. The Lunchroom on RCI, Monday to Friday, 12:45 to 2 p.m. The Lunchroom, informative, enlightening, provocative, engaging. The Lunchroom on RCI, food for thought. The station that gives you, more lunch.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. It is Friday, 31st of May, last day of May in the year 2024, and this is program number 1185. I'm your host, Calix George Jr. Now, in addition to radio on 101.1 FM, you can get us at our website. It is rcistlucia.com. All our previous shows are downloadable on that website. You can also stream us live on Facebook. Just search for the official page of Radio Caribbean International. And please be sure to like and share that as well, please, with your friends and family. If you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. That's our mainline number. It is, again, 452-3046. And you can also check us out on WhatsApp. That is 724-0008. That's our WhatsApp number. You can call in. You can message in as well to send in your comments and questions. And again, 724-0008. A bit of history for today. It's in the year 1279 BC. It's a day that is believed to be the date when Ramses II, also known as Ramses the Great, became pharaoh of Egypt. And that was the 19th dynasty of ancient Egypt. In the year 1902, the Boer War ended and a Treaty of Unity was signed with Great Britain annexing the Transvaal. 1910, more South African history. The Union of South Africa was declared and declares independence from the United Kingdom on this day. And in 2014 on this day, Psy's Gangnam Style became the first video to reach 2 billion views on YouTube. We now move on to our dish of the day. The daily dish is brought to you the kind compliments of our good friends at Tiles Plus.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+, with all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also got gasway and vanity. Box, boss, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best tiles on island. Trust me. We are located Land Street in Castries, Bosses Grozile, and Slack Street in Beaufort. Telephone number 453-7939. Tiles Plus.
Serving now, the Daily Dish.
And welcome back to our program here for this Friday. And of course, we do trust that you had a very good holiday. Yesterday was Corpus Christi, the Feast of Corpus Christi. In fact, it's also known as the Solemnity of the Most Holy Body and Blood of Christ. It's a Catholic feast day, and of course it would normally involve the processions that take place in the various towns and the city of Castries. And of course an individual who led that procession on many, many, many occasions throughout the years was in fact, breathing his last yesterday, just about that time when that procession, that service would have in fact begun. And so we extend our condolences to the family as well as the larger congregation of the Catholic community in St. Lucia upon the passing of Kelvin Cardinal Felix. And most St. Lucians would have known him as the Archbishop of Castries, a position that he held for a number of years, from the 1980s, in fact, right up until not too long ago, when he, in fact, handed over to now also Archbishop Emeritus Robert Rivas. And so he was 91 years old, and he passed yesterday at about 3 o'clock. And of course, certainly there'll be lots within the church who would have very fond memories of him. And just to share with you some of the statements regarding him and his life. Born on February the 15th, 1933, in Rosa Dominica, Kelvin Edward Felix, OBE, SLMH, DAH, served as the Roman Catholic Archbishop Emeritus of Castries, St. Lucia. His journey to priesthood began with his ordination on the 8th of April, 1956. In fact, prior to that, he was studied at the Dominica, the Rosa Boys School in the first instance, and then later on the Dominica Grammar School. And then he went on to Trinidad and Tobago, to the St. John Vianney Seminary at Mount St. Benedict, and he entered the priesthood in the year 1956. He left the West Indies in 1962 for St. Francis Xavier University in Nova Scotia, where he pursued a diploma in adult education. He later earned a master's degree from the University of Notre Dame in Indiana in sociology and anthropology, and in 1967, and completed postgraduate studies in sociology at the University of Bradford in the United Kingdom in 1970. Kelvin Felix was consecrated as the Archbishop of Castries on October the 5th, 1981. And in fact, he also served as the president of the Antilles Episcopal Conference between the years 1991 and 1997, and the Caribbean Conference of Churches as well, as president there between 1981 and 1986. He was also a member of the Roman Curia. As the Metropolitan of the province of Castries, Archbishop Felix was responsible for 33 primary schools, 2 secondary schools, 1 girls' vocational school, 2 homes for the elderly, 1 shelter for the homeless, and an orphanage for young children. In 2006, Archbishop Felix survived a knife attack at the Cathedral Basilica of the Immaculate Conception in Castries. As he approached the age of retirement, Archbishop Felix requested that the Vatican appoint a coadjutor archbishop to ensure a smooth transition in the archdiocese. And in July of 2007, Bishop Robert Rivas of the Diocese of Kingston was appointed coadjutor archbishop of the Diocese of Castries. Pope Francis made Archbishop Felix a cardinal on February the 22nd, 2014, for his service to the church. He was the cardinal priest of Santa Maria della Salute Primavalle. The archbishop was awarded an honorary doctorate of laws in 1986 from St. Francis Xavier University, Nova Scotia, and was appointed to the Order of the British Empire by Queen Elizabeth II in 1992. In 1999, he was awarded Dominica's highest honor, the Dominica Award of Honor for Meritorious Service by the government of the Commonwealth of Dominica. In 2002, he received the Medal of Honor Gold, St. Lucia Medal of Honor Gold of the Order of St. Lucia for services to religion from the government of St. Lucia on the occasion of the 23rd anniversary of the country's independence for having rendered eminent service of national importance to St. Lucia. His Eminence Kelvin Cardinal Felix's contribution to the church and society will be remembered and cherished. His passing is a significant loss to the Catholic community and all who knew him. May his soul rest in peace. And that statement coming out of the Dominica News Online. And of course, Kelvin Cardinal Felix was born in Dominica, and his father, however, did work here in St. Lucia in the Royal St. Lucia Police Force for many years, and so of course he did have ties to St. Lucia, and in fact still has family, nieces, and right here in St. Lucia. So we do commiserate with the Felix family at this time, and of course the church at large here in St. Lucia. Of course, during his time, you would have seen a number of initiatives, but as well, of course, a number of milestones in the church in St. Lucia. In particular, of course, if we go back to July of 1986, with the visit of Pope John Paul II to St. Lucia, still the only pope to have in fact visited St. Lucia back on that day in 1986. And of course, Kelvin Felix was the Archbishop at that time. He certainly will be missed. Of course, he had retired to his homeland of Dominica, and in fact served there at one point even as a parish priest, providing support, I think, up in St. John, the parish of St. John, and then of course he returned to St. Lucia in his more recent years and remained here, and of course in fact ended up passing here. No indication as yet as to the arrangements regarding his funeral, but of course it'll be interesting. Of course, I mean, he was born in Dominica, but served most of his time in terms of his role as Archbishop, of course, here in this island of St. Lucia. Of course, he was also noted to be the first Archbishop of Castries to have in fact been elevated to be a cardinal within the church. Of course, cardinals are the individuals who are senior members of the clergy, and the College of Cardinals is effectively that very small body of individuals that comes together at the passing of a pope to, in fact, select a new pope. And so, of course, it is a very high and prestigious position that he had, in fact, been given by current Pope Francis, in recognition, of course, of his work here in the Caribbean. So we certainly do commiserate with the clergy and the broader the laity of the Catholic Church at this time, and of course certainly a significant loss for the country. That's our dish of the day. When we come back, we will be taking in your calls and touching on a few other things that are in the news.
This has been The Daily Dish.
One tiles for your home, I see. Bathroom, kitchen, pantry. Need tiles for your balcony. Come down to Tiles Plus, satisfaction guarantee. Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus, Tiles Plus. Big tiles with unbeatable cost. Customer service, A+, did all kind of tiles. Come down to Tiles Plus. We also glad gas and vanity. Books, Boss, you'll see. Come down, don't mind nobody. We got the best as an island. Trust me. We are located Lance Road in Castries, Bosses Rue Grizzlies, and Slack Street in Viewfort. Telephone number 453-7939.
And welcome back to the Lunchroom here at Radio Caribbean International. Of course, the number to call in is 4523046. Again, 4523046. As well as our WhatsApp number, 724-0008. Again, 724-0008. And, of course, as we indicated, we were noting the passing of Kelvin Cardinal Felix, who served in St. Lucia for a number of years. I believe he is, in fact, the longest-serving Archbishop of Castries to date. And he took over from Archbishop Webster. And, of course, that was many years ago in 1981. Archbishop Webster being born in St. Lucia, in fact, the first St. Lucian born Archbishop of Castries. And now, of course, we have His Grace Gabriel Malze, who's also a St. Lucian by birth, who currently is the Archbishop of Castries. Now, of course, around the world, lots of interest being played regarding that of the case that many people have been looking at with lots of interest for a number of months now, and that involves the former president, formerly the world's most powerful man, former president of the United States, Mr. Donald Trump. And of course, by now you would have heard that a jury found in a Manhattan court found him guilty of 34 counts of felony, including falsifying business records. And this was effectively sometimes referred to as the hush money case. And it was, of course, raised lots of interest around the world, because this was the first time that a former president was being brought forward, criminal charges were being brought forward against him, and he has been found guilty of all 34 of those counts that were brought against him, those charges that were brought against him. And so it now means that you've got to await sentencing. Now, of course, you did hear from an individual who, Mr. Trump, who was certainly not going down without a fight, and he called the entire matter a disgrace, and he had nothing good to say about the judge and the accused, the entire process of effectively being a political witch hunt of sorts. But that is where it is at right now. And so, of course, the big question is what happens next, where we'll have to wait until July the 11th for the actual sentencing. And that is because of requests that were made by the defense in terms of other ongoing engagements of Mr. Trump. Of course, as you well appreciate, Mr. Trump is currently looking to become the next president of the United States of America on a Republican Party ticket. And in fact, that date of July the 11th is a few days before the Republican National Convention commences up in Milwaukee. And so that's the big question as to what is going to happen next with respect to that. So, of course, the big question is what would the potential sentence be? And according to one source, out of Yahoo News, the maximum penalty for the crime Trump has been found guilty of is 4 years in prison and a $5,000 fine per count. But it's just that, a maximum penalty. Prosecutors will ask the judge for a sentence based on their assessment of the public interest, and the defense will have the opportunity to respond. The Judge Merchant, Juan Merchant, has a reputation for giving out harsh sentences for white-collar crime, but he will, of course, also take into account Mr. Trump's age, his lack of a criminal record, and the fact that he was not a victim in this, and that there was not a victim in this case. One lawyer who has looked into past convictions for this crime has found that roughly 1 in 10 people who have been convicted of falsifying business records are imprisoned, and that those cases typically involved other crimes. This has led many lawyers to conclude that a prison sentence is unlikely in this case. If not prison, it's possible Trump will be ordered to pay a fine, serve probation, or a combination of some or all of these penalties. But as of now, we simply do not know. Of course, the big question is, well, not really a big question, it's out there, and will Trump appeal the verdict? And the answer is, of course, yes. There's no question that Trump will appeal, and on a lot of different grounds. In no particular order, he could argue that the prosecution did not meet its burden as a matter of law, meaning prosecutors did not have enough evidence for a reasonable jury to find him guilty. He could also argue that the judge made important errors during the course of the trial, for example, by letting Stormy Daniels provide lurid testimony that was more prejudicial than probative. He could also argue that the jury instructions incorrectly stated the law to the jury. And more importantly, he could argue that the law itself violated his rights by allowing a jury to more or less convict him of an underlying federal campaign finance crime that he wasn't charged with and that wasn't actually a crime. If Trump is sentenced to prison time, will he be free pending an appeal? And again, the answer to that is most likely Trump will remain free while his appeals are pending. For a non-violent first-time offender who isn't a flight risk, a judge will likely grant the defense's request to keep a convicted felon out of prison during the appeals process, which can, of course, be lengthy. And can he still run for president? And in fact, the reality is yes. The U.S. Constitution lays out the requirements to run for president. A candidate must be over the age of 35, a natural-born citizen, not have been elected to the office twice. There's nothing about a clear criminal record. And of course, Eugene Debs ran for president from federal prison in 1920 after being convicted of sedition for speaking out against America's involvement in World War I. And another question that one may ask, can he still vote for himself in November? So under New York law, convicted felons who are not incarcerated can still register and vote. And under the laws of Florida, where Trump is a resident and registered to vote, a felon's ability to vote is determined by the rules in the state in which they were convicted. So if Trump is behind bars on election day or during the early voting period in Florida, he won't be able to vote. But given some important factors, including the possibility he will not be sentenced to prison time or that appeals could delay his incarceration, it seems likely that Trump will be able to vote for himself for president. What other rights does Trump lose once he is convicted of a felony? Well, some of this will depend on Trump's sentence. According to the Federal Gun Control Act, for instance, Trump would be ineligible to, quote, ship, transport, receive, or possess firearms or ammunition if he is convicted in any court of a crime punishable by imprisonment for a term exceeding 1 year. Additionally, in Florida, Trump will have certain civil rights, such as the ability to serve on a jury and to hold public office suspended until after fulfilling his sentence. But wait, that doesn't that prohibit Trump from holding the office of President of the United States? No. And as was laid out before, the Constitution is very clear about the requirements for holding that office, and the Constitution will supersede any state law in a matter like this. So what happens if he is sentenced to prison, then elected president? Well, this situation has obviously never occurred before. The clemency and pardon powers of the president don't extend to state criminal proceedings. But Trump, as president-elect, would immediately file a petition in federal court arguing that the state of New York is interfering with Article 2 of the Constitution, which holds that he is to be sworn in as president and execute the powers of the presidency. To the extent being in prison interferes with those job responsibilities, he would argue that any remaining time left on his sentence would have to be suspended while he is President of the United States. This separation of powers logic would apply to the requirements of probation or parole as well. And how is the Trump campaign reacting to the conviction? Well, of course, Trump himself gave some comments outside the courthouse following the conviction, as we said. And he said this was a rigged, disgraceful trial, but the real verdict is going to be November 5th by the people, he said. From there, the Trump campaign and its surrogates have been aggressively pushing for support and donations online under the banner of Never Surrender. And Trump also announced a press conference scheduled for 11 a.m. It was today, at the Trump Tower in New York. And what about Biden's campaign and the White House? Well, here's a statement released Thursday evening by Michael Tyler, the Biden campaign's communications director, as obtained, and it reads as follows. In New York today, we saw that no one is above the law. Donald Trump has always mistakenly believed he would never face consequences for breaking the law for his own personal gain. But today's verdict does not change the fact that the American people face a simple reality. There is only one way to keep Donald Trump out of the Oval Office, at the ballot box. Convicted felon or not, Trump will be the Republican nominee for president. The threat Trump poses to our democracy has never been greater. He is running an increasingly unhinged campaign of revenge and retribution, pledging to be a dictator on day one and calling for our Constitution to be terminated so he can regain and keep power. A second Trump term means chaos, ripping away Americans' freedoms and fomenting political violence, and the American people will reject it this November. And that, of course, was the statement coming out of the Biden campaign. The White House response was shorter, and it read as follows: "We respect the rule of law and have no additional comment." And that came from a spokesman from the White House counsel's office. So just to give you some context as to what one would expect and to see happening in the coming days. Well, again, July the 11th is that day in question. And so what you would want to expect coming out of this conviction. Now, we're actually due for our weather report, so we'll take that in at this time.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige and grey tiles with these tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
This is Radio Caribbean International. It's now time for the weather news.
And also, of course, on 1.1, it's now time for your weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bar. The forecast for St. Lucia Valley for the next 24 hours, the winds will be blowing from the east near 21 miles per hour or 33 kilometers per hour. The weather fair to occasionally cloudy and hazy with a few scattered showers today, becoming generally cloudy with scattered light to moderate showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms from late tonight or early tomorrow morning. There is an advisory in the areas reads persons with respiratory ailments and dust allergies are advised to take necessary precautions due to reduced air quality. Also, small craft operators should exercise caution due to reduced visibility. The forecast for the Lesser Antilles over the Windward Islands and areas further south, fair to occasionally cloudy and hazy with a few scattered showers, becoming generally cloudy with scattered light to moderate showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms from late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Over the Leeward Islands, fair to partly cloudy and hazy with a few brief showers. And the weather summary, moderate to brisk easterly winds is expected across the Eastern Caribbean region for the next few days. A tropical wave located over the western tropical Atlantic is moving westward and near 20 miles per hour or 31 kilometers per hour. This wave is expected to affect mainly the southern half of the region from late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Another tropical wave located over the eastern tropical Atlantic is moving westward near 20 miles per hour or 31 kilometers per hour. Also, a plume of Saharan dust haze will continue to cause a reduction in visibility and air quality across the Eastern Caribbean region over the next couple of days. And this was the weather report as of 12 noon today, presented by Island Style Talent Bath.
This has been RCI's Weather News. For more information, call the Weather Hotline at 454-3452. RCI 101 number 1.
Girl, I've been so stressed searching for the perfect tiles to complete my home.
Really?
Yeah, it's always the same white, beige and grey tiles with these tile stores. Like they're all buying from the same place. You're the design expert. Help me please. I'm fed up.
What are you looking for?
Something different. Something that says Caribbean beauty and suits my personality. Something vibrant and classy with a little razzle dazzle.
Okay, Ms. Razzle Dazzle, I know just the place. Island Style Tile and Bath, they're my number one store for everything tile. And with their new In Living Color collection, you'll find the most gorgeous styles to give you that splash of Caribbean flair you're looking for.
That sounds perfect.
I'll even take you myself and throw in a free design consultation.
I'll never say no to that, sis. I can't afford you anyway.
Visit our Island Style showrooms in Castries, Rodney Bay, and View Fort, or call 450-452 or 453 Tile. We'll help bring your vision to life in living color.
And welcome back to our program here at the Lunchroom on Radio Caribbean International. Now, of course, if you want to call in to tell us what's on your plate today, the number to do so is 452-3046. Again, 452-3046. And also, you have the option of messaging in via our WhatsApp. That is 724-0008. Again, 0008. Today, I think there were a few handing over ceremonies. One, in fact, involving the Royal St. Lucia Police Force and some additional equipment for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. A lot of that being provided, I think, through assistance through Yamaha, and that involves what would be considered perhaps the non-traditional police equipment or vehicles, if you want to think of them in that way. One of them being, some of them being ATVs, and of course ATVs are pretty useful for off-road conditions and getting into smaller areas, narrow lanes and steep areas. And we've seen the introduction of ATVs over the years. And in fact, certainly this is boosting what is has been available, I suppose, or even replacing what perhaps no longer is operable. But that, of course, is being provided there. Sorry. And of course, especially in terms of monitoring crowds as well as off-road situations. So certainly that will be very useful for the police force. As well, I think about 10 bikes, very, very specialized police bikes being provided there. And of course, that is certainly going to be very welcome in terms of the traffic department and dealing with responses, especially in terms of highway patrols. And we quite often see the issues of fender benders and other accidents, particularly on the Castries-Grosley Highway, and how that can impact on traffic. And so certainly that would be no doubt pretty useful for the Royal St. Lucia Police Force. And some other equipment as well, is my understanding. That ceremony was happening sometime this morning. Also, I believe another ceremony was for the handing over or the opening of the a vending plaza, which has been constructed in what was formerly the a parking area near Bido Park, or between the Printry building and the Parliament building. And that, I think, has been dubbed a temporary facility to make some provision for vendors who are currently occupying the sidewalks in the vicinity of Jeremy Street, as well as the Labrie Street as well. And of course, the issue of vending continues to be a ticklish one. And we've seen efforts over the years, of course, inclusive of the creation of a vendor's arcade. But of course, street side vending is still pretty prevalent. Let's take in a call at this time as we head to the phone lines. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Hi, good day. How are you?
A good call. I'm not hearing you very clearly, though. Let me just try to see if I can get... Go ahead.
Okay. I think a year or two ago, the police force of St. Lucia got some assistance from the Taiwanese. I'm not sure if it's in training, but I knew that they had given the Royal St. Lucia Police Force some body cams. So I know that come with training, but have you any information of when they open to implement these things? Because right now the integrity of the force has become under scrutiny, and that will assist very much in keeping everything in order. So I don't know if you have any information offhand, but could you maybe...
No, I haven't heard of anything, nor have I seen any release to that effect. In fact, I didn't realize that they actually got training from the Taiwanese regarding this. Okay.
I think the Taiwanese offer some assistance, but I'm not sure. I don't know if it's in training.
Right.
But I knew that they were offering some body cams and stuff like that. So I don't know if they have received them, if they're hoping to be used. And the other thing, I think we're very much in need of highway patrol.
Definitely.
That could help with curbing down the amount of violent accidents you have on roads and lawlessness. The one thing I want to speak about is the music blaring from these guys with boxes on their vehicles, which could become a missile in accidents. I cannot say that I've seen them drive it very quickly with them.
Right.
But to me, that they really go overboard.
Well, I don't know when that became allowable or something that seems to be okay nowadays. It looks like I've witnessed it, I think, on 2 occasions.
Yeah.
Yeah. Speakers right up on the top of the vehicles. Yeah. I mean, before you would understand, you had individuals converting their boots, their trunks into these areas. But I mean, right now it's so blatant that they're actually putting it on top of the vehicle.
Sometimes you can notice when they're in remote areas, they keep their music off and they cover the speakers. And anytime they reach in places where they get the attention, they would blast it, and some of them going way overboard.
Right.
Yeah. And,
well, that's completely unacceptable. I think we should know better than that in terms of.
Yeah, but you see what happens is that sometimes you have these things budding, and they don't really notice them or they give them pay any attention until it becomes chronic. But,
well, we have a lot of chronic problems. I mean, another one which is very blatant. I mean, I had some guests visiting St. Lucia for a couple of weeks, and I mean, we were just in driving them around. The fact of every bike that was passing had a driver without a helmet on. It was. I mean, you could. If you saw somebody with a helmet, I don't think we actually did, but I mean, it would have perhaps been 1 in 20 or maybe 1 in 40. I don't know. But it's an unacceptable situation there with respect to that.
Yeah, I don't know if what it seemed like the motorbike patrol have a little sympathy for riders or people riding bikes or pedal riders without, because that's what it seems like, they would not stop them and stuff,
Well, these were not even pinion riders. These were the actual operators of the vehicle, the riders themselves, and they had no helmets. And like I said, it's difficult to find one with a helmet on. So it's not even as if, it's just an strange outlier case. It's a regular, the norm, it would appear almost.
Yeah, but I think lots of people would agree with me that policing here right now really needs to go back to the drawing board. Some good old-fashioned policing, investigation, having all your thing, and instead of just calling for equipment and ammunition and higher guns or whatever. I think we need to go back to this old policing, investigating, and doing your homework. I mean, patrolling and all these things.
And especially with respect to the traffic department, the traffic division. I mean, with 70,000 odd vehicles on the road now, and I mean that's a lot of vehicles, and we're seeing the congestion, we're seeing the number of accidents that are happening. I think they are probably a little bit understaffed in terms of the numbers that they require, and then the presence.
Let me give you a scenario. I went somewhere in not in town but in the countryside. And there was this popular place where you have lots of people drinking and eating. I passed a police vehicle, they said 12 o'clock. 1:30 is still there. And I don't think there was any investigation going on.
Right.
So they have lots of, sometimes it could be. But an ordinary person, they wouldn't be fooled.
Right.
So we had to go back to the drawing board, be honest, have some integrity.
Yeah. Well, it comes back to your point regarding the accountability of the force when it comes to being on the beat. If you have your body cams,
because look, you a visitor will tell you that walking about 400 meters on the beach, you get approached by sometimes 4 or 5 people offering you substance to buy, and they used to have patrols on the beach and all in Rodney Bay and all these things.
Right, yeah.
I mean, we need, come on, people paying the big bucks to come down here. We need some kind of accountability from the police.
Right.
Yeah, go ahead.
I'm saying the last thing we heard, in fact, from I think the Ministry of Tourism was speaking about bringing back the Ranger program. I'm not sure if that actually had a security element to it, but you're right. I mean, especially when you look at...
Well, I have one suggestion. You see, we have the RSS. I think we should be cycling policemen in different territories. Take some from here, St. Vincent, take some from St. Vincent, have them do 6 months here. Because people get too accustomed to the little locale, and, some of them have, a lot of people tell you that some of the police people, they have their own whatever going on. So we need to get to the bottom of that. We did. Anyhow, thank you.
Thanks very much for that contribution, caller. Have a good one.
Likewise.
And of course, definitely the matter of policing is something that we certainly do need to look at. I mean, the point has been made. Crime is not only homicides. There's a lot of other things out there, activities that are out there that are going unchecked, unfortunately. Let's take in another call at this time. Good afternoon and welcome to the lunchroom. What's on your plate today?
Hello, Mr. George. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good, thanks. How are you doing, caller?
All right.
Good to hear from you.
How's your family, the wife? And
very blessed. Thank you for asking. They're all good.
Your dad, everybody cool?
Yes. They're quite good, thank you.
With you here, most frequently when we when we start talking about the problems we face and so on, is that we must go back.
Yes.
We must go back.
Yes. Back to the good old days, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
Go back to the policing of long time. Go back to the days where we, used to do this. Go back. But it's sad, we can't go back to the future, Go back when we had patrols, go back when we had this and go back. I don't know. I don't have no solutions, Maybe these solutions are as good as we could get. But, this going back thing.
Well, I think once it's not seen...
We find the solutions by going back.
Once it's not seen as a wholesale...
The point is we cannot get the mindset of the current generation. We cannot get it into the same mode as, when we were growing up or before we were growing up, in the old times. You understand? Hence the problem. How do you get, because in the first place, there is no sense of history, documentation, or nothing in this country. So most people have no idea what back was,
Okay.
Well,
except that there are still people around. There are still generations that are there who have seen how things may have been and how they operated to some degree. And there are things that we believe could still happen. I mean, an example like riding a bike without a motorcycle without a helmet. It's the law. That has not changed. It serves a purpose. It's to protect the individual themselves in the case of an injury and an accident. That hasn't changed. So it's a matter of enforcement. I mean, it's not even about going back. The rules are still the same. And it means that we certainly have to...
Yeah, but the enforcement agency there, you were expecting the enforcement to come from. They have changed and not necessarily, it's the whole the whole dynamism in society. We have to, sometimes it is really difficult not to have this kind of mentality that probably we've lost it,
Well, I mean, I can understand to say that, look, okay, certain things have changed. There are certain values
What
or
about littering and all this?
expectation. Well, there's another good one, littering. I think
we
I think some progress has been made.
We educate our people. We go back. We'll educate them. We'll do this.
Yeah, I think some progress has been made, but we're still not there yet.
We're
So you still have, maybe you have, let's
not
say,
there yet?
we're not, because you still have a maybe about, I don't know, I'm just guesstimating, maybe 30% of the population that still has not bought on to that understanding or has not appreciated the impact that littering causes. I personally believe the majority of people do, and they will be responsible, but the reality is that there are still people who are not.
But you see, colleagues, we've been able to move forward, with, looking at the indicators that measure development. We used to, the yardsticks, we measure development with growth and so on and so forth. We have been, even with these things that are dragging us back. You know what I'm saying? In other words, look at the numbers in tourism. Cruise lines and liners and so on, tourism and so on.
Right.
So you think people pay serious attention to that waste we dumping in the harbor, eh?
Well, you see, then that's a good point that you're making.
In spite of that, in spite of all what we're doing, we seem to be
the
so
number, right, and that's an important point that you're making. The
net effect.
Right, and it cannot just be to say, look, we're just looking at the gross numbers. Are we doing any kind of customer satisfaction survey with our visitors? What do they like? What do they like about their experience? What do they not like about their experience in St. Lucia? To find out, well...
Let me tell you, but businesses, hotels, businesses, stay places, making they're getting the markups, they're making the profits. Without that kind of analysis, my brother, we're moving on without it.
That may be true, and that is always...
We're bad in mathematics from how many years ago? We're getting worse, and we're still moving on. We're not scientific. We're getting less scientific in our approach, because that's what you're advocating there, that we get the more scientific towards our approach to problem solving, to dealing with the issues, understanding the problems, and making the interventions based on the practicality of the solutions we want to promote. We're getting worse in science, we're getting worse in math, but we're still going through.
Yeah, I'm not sure that we're getting worse in math, eh? I'm not sure that we're getting worse, but we're not getting where we need to be. Right? I think it might have improved a little bit, but it's not really getting. It's not worse than
years ago, as far back as the era of John Compton, we are lamenting that in our ability to satisfy the workforce, of the future. Even the present.
And that gap now is probably increasing, because the demands now are increasing, it would appear.
But here what we focus on, the new technologies now, and we're more able to do that, and now we don't have masons and we don't have people to do what we had in abundance. Even that, we're missing out on that now.
We are exactly.
Can you believe that?
Yes.
Because we might very well have, in the new technologies, the modern economy, so to speak, we're better equipped than, the old-fashioned thing. So you see, we it's just There do say come is all, the people say, you're not looking back, you're going forward. And whatever happened, who fall by the wayside fall, but we're going forward, and let us hope that, and
Well-
you ever heard, you've ever read Niccolo Machiavelli?
Not in depth. I know of his work, but I have not read it in depth.
Well, I mean, essentially what he's saying is that matters, government shouldn't give priority, should always give priority to what is good for the state over morality and immorality and these kind of things, In other words, the state should do what is necessary.
You got to be
whether
pragmatic.
it be crime, whether it be, whatever,
Well, let's hope that we can see that as being important. Finding that striking that balance.
And that is what we come into, because essentially you see what is going on in America. Trump is not the one that gets America, so Trump is the poster boy for the people of America. Because remember, America from early 20th century has some serious advocacy, and leading that is a gentleman named Lawrence Dennis. You ever heard of him?
No, sir.
Lawrence Dennis. You must check him out. Actually, he was a mixed parenthood, partly black.
Mm-hmm.
When he was young, he used to move around with his mother as a preacher, child preacher. And then after he abandoned his family and just left them to become one of the foremost advocates of fascism,
Mm.
You understand? These people, America had a fascist agenda for a long time, And what we see happening there is just everything just cascading into what maybe it could have been for a very, very long time. So we're seeing that the emergence of Trump is not Trump doing anything. It's just that Trump suits the agenda of...
He's the poster boy.
Right, he's the poster boy for that. And then, this fascist agenda is saying that let everything in the interest of the state, you understand, that must take priority. The state and state control, monopolies, banks, schools, everything. So you see the trends there where the schools have to teach, one kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
as determined by an elite. And this is where governance is going, because, you could tell me where you want. This is where it is, because it's in China it's like that, and in America it's just happening to be like that. And well, you have little things resisted there.
Yeah.
But
Well,
you see, the thing about where democracy is under a lot of pressure is that to fight against what's coming there, all right, the onslaught of fascism.
mm-hmm.
They cannot be fascists. They cannot use the measures that the fascists will use without no apologies or apprehensions, reservations. They have to fight against it using democratic institutions,
Right.
which is always going to be lengthier and more vulnerable to
Yes,
challenge.
and of course the fascists will always be preaching the nationalist, ultra-nationalist approach, which is very popular to a lot of people.
Exactly.
So it's a very...
So, it shouldn't feel strange that after all these felonies, this gentleman 34 of them has been charged of. It's
He's still up in the polls.
The polls show he's going up.
Yeah.
You know, and the people who backing him support and endorse that. That's the man.
Yeah.
So you see, this is what is happening. It has, you know, and in that kind of environment we face in there. You know, we always talk about we like little places like St. Lucia. We're strong in defense of democracy and this and that. We must defend our democracy. And I mean, America can't defend theirs. They won't be able to defend yours, you know, my brother.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. We have to find something, but find something that's akin to, I guess, more our culture. Because look at India. India is the biggest democracy, you know, so-called.
Biggest democracy, but currently with Mr. Modi around, he is definitely pushing a Hindu state.
There you go. There you go. That's where I was going to.
Yeah.
Democracy that you could go and vote on the appointed time.
So, in fact, he's moving away from the secularism.
And you, well, these people, these Muslims are inferior. They're this and that. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Within the context of their cultural norms.
Yeah.
You know, so what is, you know, boy, we need to redefine democracy, you know.
And it's also very openly how he's going about doing it. In fact, he's even creating what they've called the Hindu Vatican.
There you go.
He's built a new temple for Ram, and he's doing all sorts of things to build up this city.
Tell the people about all these things.
It's a very interesting situation with the use of religion.
Let's take on these local topics we facing. It's true, we have local problems.
Yeah.
But these little problems are part of a much bigger problem what's going on.
They most certainly are. They most certainly are.
We must discuss. We must talk about these things because we don't live in a bubble. We only have 180,000 people on 238 square miles. We cannot influence nothing in terms of how things changing, you know, internationally on us. So we better follow these things.
Yeah.
And, you know, and just try and be pragmatic to see how long we could survive and what we could do for the people as far as, you know, government and so on and so forth. But
make sure that we don't get crushed by the elephants.
There you go. Thanks for your time.
Take care. Thanks very much, caller. Have a good one. And, of course, we're out of time, unfortunately, but we'll be back again, God willing, for another program next week. Hope you can join us for that, and do have yourself a very safe and blessed weekend. I'm your host, Alex George Jr., saying goodbye.